Welcome everyone back to your weekly weather updates, and this evening we'll have a look at the latest from the live radar, the various weather warnings we do have enforced by the Met Office, and then we'll go for the longer term forecast, as it is looking like we're going to be continuing with colder than average conditions, and the potential for snow and wintry weather actually does look quite likely over the next few weeks, so do stay tuned for that. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. So if we do have a look at the live radar, at the aftermath of Storm Arwen, you can see we actually have a small system that we were talking about yesterday, an area of vorticity out through the Midlands, heading into central southern England, and we actually have some quite heavy snowfall. Now, it did spread through Yorkshire, the northwest, and parts of Scotland overnight, and this morning into lunchtime it was in the northwest and Yorkshire. And we did see some decent accumulations, potentially 2 to 3 centimetres over even low-lying areas. In many areas, actually, we even saw the football game at Burnley gets postponed for heavy snowfall on the pitch. Now, of course, you can see that there are heavier areas, heavier pulses, and if you do line up into that, that's where you will see accumulations. However, not all people in this band are seeing these heavier pulses, which are giving the accumulations. Now, of course, I have said this a couple of days ago that the soil temperatures at 0 to 10 centimetres are still a degree or two above freezing, and we haven't had too many severe frost at all so far this autumn. So the ground temperatures are above freezing, the air temperature is about 1 or 2 degrees, so it's not promising for big accumulations. So we've only seen sort of slushy accumulations of 2 or 3 centimetres in a few spots where we've had the heaviest precipitation, and that will continue throughout tonight into central southern England and the London area as well. It is fragmenting a little bit, so it will really depend if you line up into one of these heavier pulses, one near Nottingham, near Derby, and going through Coventry and Wolverhampton, and potentially going into Milton Keynes now as well. These heavier pulses, if you're in one of those, you could see accumulations quite likely over elevated surfaces like cars, tables outside, furniture, and you can also see it through grass as well. However, on most surfaces it won't provide too much disruption. But of course, as I said, we are very early on in the season. Seeing widespread snow like this in November is pretty unlikely over the last few years. We haven't seen it really at all in England, at least southern England, and in the Midlands as well, to low-lying areas. So we are getting early season snowfall, and I do suspect these sort of patterns will continue over the coming weeks. Regardless of the snow, regardless of this snow system, we still have some heavier showers on the east coast, snow inland, maybe rain just on the immediate coastline. But overnight, it's going to be very cold. We're going to have an overnight frost, quite a harsh frost as well. So regardless if you are seeing heavy snowfall, whether it's accumulating or not, or whether you're seeing rain, most areas tonight are going to see a hard frost, so it's going to turn quite icy indeed. Now, if we do have a look at the yellow warnings, we do have ice and snow warnings in force. We do have a snow warning in the central Midlands from Sheffield through Nottingham, all the way down from Leicester, Coventry, Milton Keynes, where we are seeing those heavier bands at the moment. It was put in force just before 2 p.m. this afternoon and expires at 5 p.m, so pretty much the time this video is going out. As I said, up to 1 to 2 centimetres may accumulate on some untreated surfaces and more widely on grass. And you can see it's high likelihood, lower impact. And I've seen many images through Twitter, and it is looking like we are seeing a couple of centimetres in a few spots, but it will melt over the course of this evening. For likely, it will freeze once again once we hit later this evening, as that frost does take hold. Now, we also do have widespread ice warnings. We have some down the east coast and some down the central spine of England, and of course in eastern Scotland. And this is where we've seen precipitation today, really. You can see along the east coast of all those showers coming in. Most of them rain towards the coast. Inland, more likely snow, especially over high ground. Those will all freeze all of the precipitation on the ground. The water on the ground will freeze, so we are likely to see some quite thick ice as well. And across central England as well, where we've seen that vorticity move through, that feature move through. Yes, the heaviest snowfall at the moment is through Nottingham, Sheffield, Leicester, but elsewhere through northwest Yorkshire, down through Birmingham into central southern England, we are going to see precipitation fall, and that's where we're most likely to see the harshest frost this evening, so it will potentially turn very icy as well. As I said by the warning, showers along with spells of sleet and snow will tend to clear this evening. As skies clear, a widespread frost will develop, leading to the chance of icy surface in these areas, and also where lying snow has partially melted during the day. So where we're seeing snowfall here, as I said, it is likely to melt, but it could refreeze tonight, turning quite ice, and again we have these ice warnings again through tomorrow. Now if we have a look at the longer term forecast, the GFS 6Z is going very, very interesting indeed. It's actually going really quite cold over the next 2 weeks. So yeah, very interesting seeing what's happening with this. It's that Scandinavian high that keeps cropping up in the GFS, and we'll have a look at the GM and the ECMWF as well. They're not quite going for this colder pattern, and we'll see where they diverge in terms of about sort of 5-7 days time, where GFS gets a Scandi high going, whereas GM and ECMWF sort of keep the westerlies moving, or at least northwest slees. So you can see at the moment we've got a colder northerly flow with quite cold air over the top of the UK, and you can see the upper air temperatures really quite cold. They're going to slowly be pushed away tomorrow with milder air pushing back in. All areas are going to go mild again, temperatures back into the high single digits, maybe 9-10 degrees in the south. However, by midweek, by Wednesday, Thursday time, we're back into a northerly flow with amplification of the jet stream. Could see snow showers once again, especially in the north and the east. And of course, as I said, every time we get one of these colder spells, that air to our north is going to be a degree or two colder, because the sea surface temperatures will be cooling off, land surface temperatures will be cooling off as well, so it could be even colder in terms of temperatures than we've had this weekend, especially overnight, and even in the day, highs may only be 3 or 4 degrees. Don't know about snow specifics at this stage, but we'll have a look at the UKMO Operational Run at the end, which will give us a bit of an insight into it. However, that cold air will eventually slowly get pushed away, but we stay on the cold side of the jet stream, and we continue, actually, with some quite cold air. And this is where the models sort of diverge. You can see at day 7, the GFS is building in a Scandinavian high and pretty bitterly cold easterly winds. We'd even be seeing quite heavy snowfall potentially in the east, with low pressure down to our southeast. We could be seeing sort of features moving into the south, could be bringing widespread snowfall. Regardless of that, we would be seeing a lot of convection on the easterly wind, and we just stay really quite cold. And as these lows slide into that cold air, we could be seeing, again, heavy snowfall. This continues with us staying on the cold side of the jet. We do temporarily bring in some milder air in the south, but once again, we go back into that colder air right towards the end of the run. Still quite chilly indeed. So yeah, very interesting what we're seeing there from the GFS, with the jet stream shifted southwards, blocking towards Scandinavia, and things generally really quite cold. Now, if we do run it back and have a look at the temperature deviation, which gives us a good indication, you can see very cold air towards Scandinavia, and it's just getting fed into the UK. We're staying in those blue colours, 6 degrees, 8 degrees below average, and just staying really quite cold all the way to the end of the run. Really interesting from the GFS there, and if that did come off, we would be seeing a very cold start to December, with the CET probably only around a degree or two. And remember, December 2010 had a CET of minus 0.1, not on that level, but it's looking really chilly, and we would be expecting with that sort of pattern more of these snow events coming along. Now, if we do have a look at the GM, see how it does compare again, you can see the northerly wind at the moment, pretty chilly indeed, and then we see another northerly blast by this midweek, with very cold air moving down from the north, and then we go again, a bit more westerly, but still on a chillier side of the jet stream. And as we head towards day 7, where the GFS builds up that Scandinavian high, you can see there are heights rising towards Scandinavia. Doesn't quite come off. You do see again generally higher pressure and a bit of an easterly wind in Europe, but towards the UK, the westerlies look like they're winning out at this stage. But there is very cold air just to our east, ready to come in if we did get that high going. Now, one thing to take into account is, for a cold spell we just had with the northerly winds, a bit of green and blocking, the GFS caught onto this a good few days earlier than the other models. So we have to take it with a pinch of salt what's happening with these. It could be, again, another sort of masterclass from the GFS, sort of coming onto a pattern a good few days before the other models. Now, of course, GFS will be chopping and changing quite a bit, but that signal of a Scandinavian high is very interesting from the GFS. And if, again, something similar happens to what had a week or two ago, where the GFS saw it a little bit earlier than the other models, we could be in for a very interesting forecasting period throughout the first few weeks of December. Now, if we have a look at the ECMWF, again, have a look at how this does compare. Again, you can see another northerly wind this week, really quite cold. And then towards day 7, we see heights rising to our north, towards Scandinavia. We're pulling in a slight northerly wind, but just gets flattened. We do still have a bit of blocking towards Scandinavia, just these more greens and lighter blues, showing a bit of high pressure. But the jet stream staying flat and westerly. Not amazingly mild, as we still have cold air coming out of Greenland, but it's coming off along sea tracks, so it's unlikely to be cold enough for snow, really. But yeah, very interesting. ECMWF going complete opposite, with that Scandi high really not coming off, and going really westerly with essentially some quite stormy weather. And we could be seeing more named storms with this sort of pattern. You can see there is big uncertainty, but the potential for very cold weather, once again returning throughout December, is still on the table. I very much doubt that we're going to be seeing flat westerlies over the next few weeks. Given we've seen the big application over the last week or so, we're seeing another northerly wind come in the middle of this week. I do not suspect that this will be the last. I do suspect we will be seeing more of this cold weather throughout the next few weeks. So make sure you stay tuned, of course, to my videos, the Met Office forecasts and their warnings, as I do suspect we will be seeing something very interesting happening over the next few weeks, whether it's sustained cold weather or whether it's just northerly shots or brief easterly winds or something similar to this weekend where we've had 2 or 3 days of cold conditions. We'll have to see, but I do suspect there will be more cold weather incoming over the next 3 or 4 weeks. Now, if we finally have a look at the GFS Ensembles, and then we'll have a look at the UK Met Office Run, you can see this well reflected on the GFS Ensembles. Very cold at the moment. Temperatures rising for sort of Monday evening to Tuesday, temporarily around 1 or 2 degrees above average, before we see the big drop once again with a cold northerly wind. The air mass is going to be even colder than we have at the moment, down to -6, -7 degrees at 850 HPA, rising slightly in the following days, but the first week of December looks really quite cold, with the average around -5 degrees at 850 HPA. Now you can see the GFS Operational Run following on quite a lot with those ensemble members over the next week, and then you see it staying cold, if not going a little bit colder, through the second week of December. Other ensemble members go a little bit milder. Some stay very cold, similar to the Operational Run, so it's not a complete outlier. It is on the cold end, but not a complete outlier. But most stay around -5 or a tad warmer, and some go a lot warmer. So those are sort of offsetting the average, which stays around or just below average for the foreseeable future. Precipitation signals, not massive, but still some frequent precipitation, so still low pressure mixed in with this. So, of course, with temperatures at 850 HPA around -5, with precipitation around, that is a recipe for potentially more snow and winteriness. Now, it's not guaranteed, of course. It all depends on very subtle conditions. As we've seen over the last few days, there will be very sort of narrow dividing lines between rain, sleet, and snow. And, of course, it all depends on dew points, exact air masses, and stuff like that we can't really have a look at until maybe a day or two beforehand. Yeah, we'll just have to keep an eye really on what happens with this, but it's still looking really quite cold through the first week of December and potentially beyond that. And any snow potential, we'll have to just keep an eye on it over the next few weeks. I don't really want to have a look at speculative GFS charts at this stage because the pattern doesn't look locked in, but we may be doing that over the next few days and maybe next week, as we do potentially have some more colder weather incoming. Now, if we do have a look at Glasgow, see how that does compare. Of course, that's further north, so it should see some of these colder spells a little bit more severe than in the south, because it does follow a similar pattern in terms of up and downs to London. You see quite cold air mass at the moment, turning milder over the next couple of days, and then we see a big drop down to -7, -8 degrees, maybe a degree or two colder down in London, and then we see the rise to around -5 at 850 HPA, and then we see again stay around -5, maybe going a little bit higher towards average, but staying generally around or below average. Also, you can see the GFS Operational Run there is really quite cold as well. A bit more of an outlier here, of course, getting down to maybe -10 at 850 HPA. But still, yeah, looking really quite cold on the ensemble members. Free precipitation as well means the higher chance of more snow events around. Not guaranteed, but there's a higher chance. Definitely a higher chance this year than we've had over the last few years in terms of cold potential throughout the start of December. But that's not unexpected. We have been expecting this. Have a look at the winter look ahead. A colder start to the winter, i.e. end of November and through December, was sort of above average chance this year, and it is coming to fruition. So yeah, very interesting seeing what's happening over the next few weeks. Don't make sure you don't put your sleds away at this stage. It does look like we will be seeing some more snow, and you can get your sledges out or get your sledges outside, doing some snowball fights, make snowmen potentially over the next few weeks. Now, if we finally have a look at the UK Met Office run, now this really didn't forecast the snow event today particularly well, or the heavier snow across the central England. I wouldn't say a snow event, but really for the end of November, it's probably a bigger snow event than we've had for many areas, to low-lying areas, for many years, really. But you can see it wasn't forecasted particularly well in the UK Met Office run, just showing a few showers really, and sort of disintegrating away and a bit far west. So yeah, very interesting for the UK Met Office run, not doing particularly well here. Beyond that, though, a few showers in the east, maybe some more snow across northern Scotland, but that is as milder air pushes in, so turning a lot more milder and unsettled from the north. But then, by midweek, again, we see heavier rain pushing southwards, but that's introducing a colder air mass once again for Wednesday and Thursday. Heavy snow showers across the north, showers pushing into the east as well, and you can't rule out, again, another potentially small system of area of vorticity or convergence lines developing, or occluded front potentially bringing more enhanced snowfall. But again, we'll have to look at that near the time. Beyond that, you see weather fronts pushing up once again, and we could be seeing quite a large snow event potentially, especially over high ground. Again, it will be leading edge, so we'll turn back to rain, but the UK Met Office run showing the potential for more widespread snow later this working week. So looking very likely we do continually see more snow this coming week. Not guaranteed to seeing massive snow, but the potential is there. Again, mainly over higher ground, as it is, of course, early in the winter. But even to low-lying areas, we may even see more snowfall this coming week. So make sure you do stay tuned to the weather warnings and the forecast as well. Now, if we have a look at max temperatures, you can see here it was quite a cold day today. Temperatures maxing out around 2 or 3 degrees, and that's why we have been able to see widespread snowfall through the central areas, because even though the air temperature is slightly above freezing, dew points were well below freezing, and generally it is quite cold. So, of course, snow can fall a couple of degrees above average, above freezing, at the surface, but it's unlikely to create massive accumulations. So that's why we have some just sort of slushy accumulations in heavier bursts. Now, tonight is going to be really quite cold. You can see widely by around midnight, temperatures are below freezing, especially in the west, heading more central areas through the early hours of the morning as cloud moves away. -2, -3, -4, quite widely across central England into northern England and Scotland as well. Through Monday afternoon, temperatures are still really quite chilly, around 2, 3, 4 degrees, but milder temperatures are pushing in from the west. So Monday night, maybe an isolated frost in the southeast, but it will clear up by early hours of Tuesday with temperatures turning much milder once again. But by Wednesday into Thursday, colder air is moving back in from the north. That mild sector really only lasting a day before much colder air spreads in. Early hours of Thursday, widespread frost in the north, maybe slight frost in the south. And during the day on Thursday, it's going to be chilly. Maybe only 2, 3, 4 degrees once again. And overnight Thursday into Friday, another widespread frost. But then it does look like a mild sector will be moving in. But as we saw with the precipitation charts, that's where air masses could collide and we see potentially some snow on its leading edge. So it's looking very interesting over the next few weeks. Snow potential is going to remain at least over the next week or two. We will see snow again for some But at this stage, we can't really pinpoint any details, as of course, snow forecasting is so difficult. As we've seen over the last few days, we could be seeing some surprise events over the next few weeks. We could be seeing some disappointments as well. So just stay tuned to my videos, of course, the Wet Office forecasts and the Met Office warnings as well, as I do suspect there will be more colder sort of ice and snow warnings over the coming week or two. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. And I'll see you again for another video soon.